and welcome to a brand new episode of John the PM Podcast, where we believe that managing projects is not just a job, but a way of life. I'm your host, John McLothian, and if you're tuning in for the very first time, I'm thrilled to have you here. For those of you who know me from my YouTube channel, John the PM, it's great to have you join me on this journey. Managing projects is a subject that has not only transformed my career, but also enriched my personal life in countless ways. So I'm excited to share my insights, experiences, and some valuable tools and techniques that can supercharge your journey. In today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about stakeholder management. Stakeholders, as we should know, are very key and critical to the success of our projects. There should really be no issues or concern about it. The question may be, what do you do with them? The question may be, how do you work with them? The question may be, who are there? By definition, a stakeholder is anyone who is impacted or believed to be impacted. So that's pretty much a large group, folks that can actually be involved. On a personal basis, I would not debate on who's a stakeholder and who's not, because that's really not the issue. The issue is, what are you going to do with them? And that's where the analysis tools come in. Now, there's a variety of different tools that we talk through in class, and clearly on this podcast, I don't have enough time to go into depth into all of them or anything of that nature. So I'm just really going to talk about one, and it's the one that should just be done all the time, just as a matter of fact. It's very basic. It's a matrix, 2x2 quadrant, and on the vertical line will be power. On the horizontal line will be influence. So power and influence, or power and interest. But for now, let's just use influence. Basically, the higher up you go, or the further away that you go from zero, the more power or influence that they actually have relative to the project. So let's assume, and I'm going to put you into play here, that you are doing a technology project. Okay, that's pretty straightforward, just a technology project. And as one of your stakeholders that you identified the chief technology officer. So the chief technology officer is on the C-suite. So therefore, by definition, they have a lot of hierarchical power. Okay. So should be no issues on that. They are the technical officer, chief technical officer, chief technology officer. This is a technical project. So by default, one can reason that they're going to have a lot of interest or influence on the project. So they're going to have a lot of power, a lot of influence, or a lot of interest relative to the project on that side. For those folks, we would simply, as our management strategy, use manage closely. In other words, you want to be right with them wherever they go and things of that nature. All right, so let's wipe the board clean here for just a second. And let's assume that we have the senior vice president of HR. Senior vice president. That individual, again, has a lot of hierarchical power. Interest, influence, HR, technology, they're never going to say they're not interested, but unless it dealt with their human resource information system, it's probably not going to be as great as a technology officer, okay, on that side. So in that case, we would probably say high power, but low interest. And for those folks, we would just simply keep satisfied. One distinction that I like to put between the two, the ones who have a lot of power but little interest versus the ones with a lot of power and a lot of interest, comes down, do they have the power of no, or do they have the power of yes? So, I mean, no disrespect, been using this analogy, but hopefully it'll resonate. Let's assume that you're going to build a deck on the back of your home. That's awesome. You got to go downtown to pull a permit, from them, from, City Hall, in those areas. Most municipalities have some kind of a, ordinance about that. So that's awesome. The individuals down at City Hall, they really don't have the power of yes. In other words, even if they approve the permit, doesn't necessarily mean that you can go forward. Now, what they do have is the power of no, and they can definitely stop you. but they can't necessarily greenlight you or allow you to go forward. So just a way to kind of separate out the differences between those two pieces.
This is just a real quick interruption here. I know that you're enjoying yourself on that fascinating show in the world of managing projects, but just wanted to let you know that we do have books on sale, and this particular one is called The Project Manager's Quick Start Guide. I think it is an outstanding read. Why? Because, well, I wrote it. But on a serious note, it is really meant for those who are brand new in the world of managing projects, or let's say that you're mentoring a young individual, a young go-getter, and they have the very, very first project and you want to set them up for success. This is the book for you. Down in the description notes, you can go ahead and order at your will. Thank you. Have an awesome day.
Let's talk about the bottom two. Let's assume that an individual has low power hierarchically, but they have a lot of interests. One very, very classic group that can be, that falls into this category are end users. End users are the folks who are actually going to be using the product or widget that you're developing. In all honesty, a lot of times the project manager may not actually meet the end user. That is entirely possible. It certainly has happened to me. But what I do like for folks to do is to make sure that you never, ever, ever forget them. Just as a matter of fact, user stories and agile processes really helps out, with that discussion. So, that's another tool. We can talk about that a little bit later. With these folks who have low power, hierarchical, but a lot of interest, what we would want them to do is to keep them informed. Okay, keep them informed. So that leaves our final quadrant. These are the individuals with not that much power, and quite frankly, they don't have a lot of interest in it. And for these individuals, we would just simply monitor. So why even have them on the list? Who knows? The project could actually, bump into them, and then you have to worry about them. The individual can be promoted, to another level, and then all of a sudden they become interested, in it. Whatever may be occur. See, on those pieces. Again, I normally do not get into a debate as to who is a stakeholder and who's not. Somebody says they're a stakeholder, I just, put them on the list, move on. They on that side. We will get into, during my team meetings, we'll get into a discussion about their power and influence for sure. But, because we do want to have the correct management strategy when working with them. In closing, if you are looking for more information on how to become a great project manager, don't forget to hit that like button and be sure to subscribe to John the PM.